It's Wednesday, September 13th. I'm Matt Harmon. Welcome to Ekeler's Edge, presented by Toyota, a part of the Yahoo Fantasy Football Show. It's a hell of a day to talk ball, and joining me to do just that, obviously, is Los Angeles Chargers running back Austin Ekeler. Austin, what's going on, buddy?
What to do? Week one is in the books, man. It is in the books. We are officially back, and the NFL, ceases to, ceases to amaze me. Like it always is like bringing some jam-packed action, some crazy stuff, like some things that that are sad, some things that are happy. Obviously we lost, so I think that's sad. Dolphins fans, they think that's, great for them. But all the emotions and all of it wrapped up into it is why it makes it so great. And so I cannot be happier to be doing this show now, kind of recapping it all and jumping into week two.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, it was a wild week one. It was actually a pretty low scoring week one. I saw some stat about how there was such a few, the fewest amount of touchdowns, other than your game, which we'll talk about here in a second. That's like the one outlier. The rest of them were kind of slow. And I mean, obviously we're coming off the Rodgers story, which has captivated the news cycle. It's just, what a depressing start to the Jets season. So yeah, week one was absolutely wild, but we do want to get into Dolphins-Chargers here, which was basically like the classic game on the slate here, right? Unfortunately, like you said, you guys did not pull out the win. Dolphins 36, Chargers 34. We're not going to dive into the Charger. This podcast is not going to be Chargers today, right? We're not going to do this every single week, but this was a pretty impactful game. And notably, I wanted to highlight here, Austin. Thank God I was able to get in your DMs before kickoff, buddy, because you absolutely brought it. 16 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. In fact, Austin, and I know this, watching the game, watching you rip off big runs, a 55-yard run you had there, I knew this had to mean something to you because I remember you talking at times last year, despite having this great fantasy season, that you weren't really happy with what was going on in the run game. And, us fantasy folks and NFL folks in general have been talking all off season about, the Chargers' new offense is going to get up Justin Herbert's average depth of target and all about the pass game. But man, you guys came out in week one of the NFL season. I saw this stat from Ben Solak, does a great job over at The Ringer. The Los Angeles Chargers in week one had a top 10 rushing offensive success rate of the last decade. So, hey, little shout out to the boys in week one.
Heck yeah, man. So, all training camp, all off season, right? We've been seeing this number 30, and they're not talking about Austin Ekeler. They're talking about our rushing rank in the NFL last year was 30th in the league. And so during our preseason games, we got to run the ball. We got to run the ball. We got to be able to run the ball. And I think we had a record performance in preseason too. I think we had 2 games with 250 yards of rushing. And then the other one was 100 something. So it kind of carried over as far as that mindset. It's hey, we got to be able to run the ball. And you kind of saw that play itself out, versus Miami in the track meet that we had going on with our offense and Tyreek Hill and Tua.
Oh my God.
That guy is incredible. Oh my God. Shout out to Tyreek Hill. That boy is, he's built different. He's definitely built different. But man, yeah, it was interesting. Just seeing kind of how it's going to be playing out in our offense, where it's hey, if we can run the ball, maybe Herb's average doesn't have to go up as much. Maybe, I feel like this season is always this hype, around, the new coaches, the new staff, and you expect these things. But until you get into the weeds, you really don't know. But no, it was exciting to get back out there. Yeah, obviously we lost and that freaking sucks. But as far as where we're at offensively, I'm okay, we keep playing like this, we're going to give ourselves a chance here at the end. So now it's just about being consistent, and I'm looking forward to it, man.
Good building block for sure. You're not going to go up against a dude who's going to put up 215 yards and 2 touchdowns on the other side of the field through the air. You're not going to have that every single week. So I do think it's a good offensive building block for sure. And, it was funny because going into this last week, we talked about how it doesn't always click in week one, and there's some of these offensive changes. And I'm not saying that everything was perfect with the Chargers, but, sometimes it doesn't always click in week one. You look at the Ravens, they're bringing in a new offense, a full offensive philosophy overhaul. It doesn't quite, they get the win, but the offense is not quite there in week one, right? But for you guys, despite that patience we preached, you were don't be coming at me if we don't have a big week one performance out of Austin Ekeler. Well, no need for that. 24 points in half PPR and fantasy. So I don't think anybody's upset with you. But we're sitting here talking about this run game. I also think we do have to give a shout out to Josh Kelly too. I mean, Josh Kelly, 16 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. This is a guy, Austin, that I remember talking about last year, right before he kind of suffered this unfortunate injury and went on IR and missed a few games. But we were starting to say that, hey, you've wanted this like second fiddle in the ground game for a while. Somebody take the load off, and Kelly was having his moments to start the year. And I know, look, I'm telling you for sure, people in fantasy right now, because you're on the injury report with this ankle. I don't know if you want to give any status update about yourself. It's only Tuesday as we're recording this, so long way to go until game day. But people are definitely keeping an eye on Josh Kelly from a waiver wire perspective right now.
Yeah. I've been vocal about this, for the past few years, like being able to have someone where it's like they can carry the load as well, and there's not much of a drop off, right? And it's like, hey, we trust this guy in the game. It's so crucial to just the health of both of us. And we play the long game, right? We're trying. It's not a perfect science where it's like, oh, you got someone who's good now, you guys aren't going to get hurt. Obviously, this is football. Anyone, as we saw with Aaron, this is football. Everyone, is going to be in the same boat as far as injuries. Everyone can get hurt. Doesn't matter who you are, what position you play. Like it's football. So, it's unfortunate. It's the worst part of the game, but it also is part of the game, and you have to be able to adjust. But Josh has been solid all preseason. Like I said, we were like leading some record in preseason. And it might've been the most ever, rushing yards in a preseason with 3 games anyway. I don't know. But Josh was ripping runs. And so, that's exactly what you want to see. But I mean, I'm just in general, I'm like, man, if we can rip runs like this, you might just want to pick him up and just in general, even if it's not the so-called starter, right? Like if we're going to be able to, get this run game going, then it could be like almost like where you had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, where it was like both of these guys are very viable to be on the field and actually go out there and make plays. I'm excited for us going forward.
I would argue that there is very few more valuable guys to have on your bench in fantasy than someone who, obviously, again, the contingent value. If Austin misses games, everybody, like you ain't got to be a genius you don't need me to come on this podcast and tell you, you should probably play Josh Kelly because he'd be the starting running back. But if what Austin is alluding to, and again, I remember having this conversation early last year that, hey, Josh might be carving out a role to the point that if you need, during the bye week hell, right? When it's going to be tough finding guys, maybe you throw him out there. Maybe he has that standalone value. Someone that has contingent value in the backup running back spot, but also potential like what the heck flex. Throw this guy out there. That's standalone value. Those are probably the most valuable players to have in fantasy. So I'll tell you what, I'm looking at like rest of season rankings right now, Austin, and I'm keeping notes on this conversation thinking like, I need to be having Josh Kelly maybe in an area where he should be on rosters at this point. Yeah.
And also I think, Josh Kelly was kind of like a spotlight now because he obviously had 91 yards and a touchdown, which is, I mean, even if that was, as a starter, those are good stat lines. But like, are there other types of Josh Kelly players out there that you should be picking up? Like let's broaden this conversation to, the rest of the league. Like, is there a guy that, has been getting some predominant play? And I think there is out there as well. Someone says, Tyler Algier, and he's a guy that I was gonna, spotlight here in a second. Cause I think he's the guy that, he had a great season last year. Like this man ran for like 5 yards a carry, had, over 1,000 yards and, like 5 touchdowns. And it's like that guy now obviously I was Bijan Robinson in the same backfield, but it reminds me of the old days with me and Melvin Gordon, where it was like Melvin Gordon was the starter for like 2 years. And then I was like kind of like the backup split guy, but you still want me on the team because I would be catching balls and still making an impact. Where I was like, I'm not going to get the full volume that Melvin might. You still might want Melvin, above me. And back then he was getting the goal line reps as well. But I was like, shoot, Austin Ekeler's still, a viable pick here. And so just seeing that play out across the league kind of should give you some foresight of like, okay, these are scenarios that play out. And then if the starter does get hurt, then guess what? Boom, you're in a perfect position for now that person to get more burn. So, I think it's a great point.
I love that because Tyler Algier is a great way to transition into kind of the guys we want to highlight from coming out of week one. And I think Algier is a good one for you to bring up because he perfectly encapsulates what we're just talking about here with that. And this is the thing, ranking guys coming into the season. I know I'm sitting down, I'm thinking, okay, we have no idea. I mean, if there's one coach we don't have a damn clue what he's going to do. It's Atlanta Falcons head coach Arthur Smith. We have no idea what's going to go on with that. I mean, shoot, they might just draft a wide receiver 8th overall and throw him one ball in week one. That might happen. Hypothetically, that's a thing that could happen. But with this running back usage, we have no idea coming into the season. But then you see it in week one, and we see exactly what you're talking about here. Like Tyler Algier had 54.2% of the snaps. Bijan Robinson on the field for 64.6%. So obviously there are some times when these guys are going to be on the field together. Algier actually had more rush attempts, 15 rush attempts to 10 for Bijan Robinson. He ran 9 routes compared to 17 for Bijan Robinson, who's probably going to be more involved in the pass game. But these games where you can project Atlanta to hold kind of a lead, right? And they'll get a lot of rushing work. And they have a pretty easy schedule. I think by strength of schedule coming into the year, like projected win totals, they had one of the easiest schedules. So there's going to be a lot of these opportunities. Yeah, at this point, Algier has to jump up into a range where, yes, of course, if anything, knock on wood happened to Bijan Robinson, he would be a great pick. But this dude was awesome in his rookie year. He had 1,000 yards.
Yeah, and he was a rookie. So it's like, okay, this guy's going to get another year under his belt. And so I was a little skeptical, of the Bijan Robinson, but there was all this hype, and it's kind of cloudy. Like, what about, Tyler Algier? Like, what is he thinking? Like, what the heck? But they had they had other running backs that were cycling in. So it kind of makes sense that kind of their philosophy that they had going on over there was like they had a few running backs that they had going. So let's bring another one in, right? And they'll probably, transition one of those guys out. Cordero is kind of like this flex guy who kind of plays all over the place, but it seems like, okay, now they got 2 solidified.
Did you see they listed him on the depth chart as Joker? Was just it just is a J next to it, and he changed his profile picture to the Joker from the the Hugh.
The I did
Joker
see that.
Movie.
This man's wild, man. He just came in, returner, receiver, running back, just player, just playmaker. Shout out to Cordero, man. He's a beast.
Yeah, has me blocked on Twitter. I don't know what I did, but
sometimes people in the media world, it takes one clip to be taken out of context, or you rubbed us the wrong way on the wrong day, and then you're blocked. I definitely have some people blocked as well, so don't take it personal. It's just like, hey, you know what? I'm good. It was a bad mood. It seemed toxic to me, and now you're no longer going to pop up on my stuff.
Yo, let me tell you what, buddy, I probably deserved it. Okay. I'm sure it was when I was 25 or something years old, like a total jackass. And I'm positive I deserved it. I'll wear the block with honor there. But all right. So you want to highlight Tyler Algier. That's a great guy for people. Like if you drafted him, you might get a sneaky starter out of it. And again, the contingent value is there. I'll go a little more chalk here with the guy I want to highlight, and actually pretty good transition because again, the Los Angeles Chargers led the NFL in week one with a 66.7% rushing success rate. You led it by a country mile. The number 2 team was the Dallas Cowboys. And I want to highlight Tony Pollard here. We know he's a guy who's playing on the franchise tag. We know that the Cowboys, they, to put it kindly, kicked the out of the Giants, to put it lightly. But you don't win a defensive heavy game like that if you're not able to have a really good ground game, a sustaining ground attack. And for Tony Pollard, this is a player who came into this year with some questions about him, right? We've never seen him carry a full workload. We've only ever seen him as we've seen games, and obviously this is just one game, but we have seen instances where he's played in relief of Ezekiel Elliott, but we've never seen him be the guy. This is the game with him being the guy here. And I mean, shoot, again, the numbers bear it out there. Number 2 in rushing success rate. He helped move the offense, and he did some things that some people had questions about. Like, is he going to be able to run between the tackles? Is he going to get goal line carries? Well, check based on it's just one game, but I thought it was a huge, impressive performance for Tony Pollard to the point that, again, when you're thinking of rest of season fantasy rankings, this is a guy who went in the mid to late second round. If we are redrafting today, just based on what we saw in week one, I think he would be a top 5 running back off the board.
Wow.
I would have him. I would probably have him behind CMC and you, behind Nick Chubb, I think. But then at like 4 or 5 there, I think you got to start thinking about Tony Pollard.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's a reason they're keeping around, and they were able to decide that they wanted to let Zeke go out and not bring him back. And so I agree. I think from looking at what he did last year, you caught his sauce as a running back. I'm like, yeah, this guy can play. He can play. He definitely could play. And, you saw just kind of explosive runs that this guy was having, and just ripping it on passes, ripping it on runs. And, and so this was the first time, obviously, he's in that spot. And now he's got a chance. And so as long as he's healthy, man, he's going to continue. I feel like he's going to continue to have success too. That's a great highlight. And some other guys I think we could highlight too, but which is expected. I actually text him after this yesterday. He posted like one of his highlights, Chris McCaffrey. Man, that guy's also just a freaking stud. Just a stud, man. Just, ripping runs. And that offense is insane. Like, our offense is good too, but theirs is like right there, and as far as matching up across, man, it's So that's someone also I thought we should highlight too, because I mean, shoot, like this guy, gets it done.
He's the king, man, and they're the epitome of a selfless offense too. Like you can tell. Sometimes you could tell watching teams who has buy-in, right? Brandon Aiyuk, I mean, my dude, Brandon Aiyuk. We'll get to your fantasy team in a second, but that was a highlight for you in week 1.
Oh yeah,
Brandon Aiyuk out there dropping like blocks deep downfield.
Oh yeah,
Austin, sprinting.
Boom.
He
touchdown blocks.
He sees McCaffrey make like one guy miss in the hole, and he's taking off to like set the block downfield. Ray McLeod, shout out to him, another wide receiver laying a block downfield. This. I watch a lot of receiver tape, even the running plays, and this. I'm sure we're not going to call anybody out, but sometimes receivers and DBs, they'll do a little like.
They're over there just like, and then it comes their way and they're like, oh, let me start playing again. Like, come on, you guys, I want some guys with a motor. Like, give me I want a motor guy. Like, you're freaking, it don't matter if the play's way over there, you're blocking this guy until the flipping whistle blows. But there's unwritten rules of like, different sports and things like that. And I feel like that's not necessarily an unwritten rule, but it's like kind of one of those things that kind of is general, where it's like maybe if you're on the backside of a run and you're a corner that's getting blocked by a receiver, you guys are kind of just like standing there like, all right, if it comes our way, then we'll try. But for the most part, we're just kind of hanging out this play. But love to see the good hustle from the teammates, and then love to see Christian out there balling out, man.
Yeah, absolutely balling out. I mean, if we're going to highlight running backs, we got to highlight him. But let's actually transition off the Brandon Aiyuk thing into your fantasy team, buddy, because let's give a little update. It was a wild week 1 in the Ekeler Invitational. Both Austin and I started the year off right. 1-0. Both with a victory, but specifically you, pal. I'm too sexy for this league, which is Austin's team. I mean, I posted the screenshot on Twitter, and I intentionally left JJ's team off this because it was not safe for work.
Right.
I don't want kids' eyeballs falling out when they see the absolute train wreck that happened on that side of it. But Austin Ekeler scores the most points in the Ekeler's Edge Invitational here in week 1, 114 points, 114.92 points, beat your projection by quite a bit. And Austin, the beautiful thing about this is that you score the most points in the league, and you had 2 players combined for 0.8 points. We'll get to those guys in a second, DeAndre Swift and Dallas Goedert, but 37 points from the Dallas defense and 28.9 from my dude Brandon Aiyuk launches you to a pretty massive week 1 victory.
Yeah, had some outliers this week, and look, in a 16-person league, it's not like you're gonna have guys that are consistently across the board.
14.
Oh, I mean, 14. Sorry, 14-person league.
Don't hype yourself up that much, okay? You're slicing it up.
Sorry, I got 4 other leagues that are 16 people, but in this small 14-person league, you can't expect everyone to have like consistency across the board. Like, you're gonna have some guys that are like this is like a backup. Maybe they, get in there. Hopefully they give me a point or two. Like, that's good. But I was a little disappointed by some of these guys. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I had expectations, obviously, for Goddard, for DeAndre Swift as well. He was a guy that put up, 0.8. And so I was like, wow, I got to dive into these situations a little bit more. Like, I don't have a lot of time around to be diving in, but I was definitely expecting a little bit more from the Philly offense over there. But yeah, still came through with Herbert, Brandon Aiyuk, and Dallas. Like, obviously the Dallas game was insane. And they scored 2 touchdowns, which is, I mean, if a defense does that, they're popping off for sure in points. But yeah, the Dallas defense looks like a real contender to actually be like a real thing instead of just like a 4 or 5 point kind of, defense like they typically are. So, I think the A- draft on mine was pretty good. The draft grade still holds up. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I'd say so. The Dallas Cowboys defense scored 37 points. The only other player to score more in week 1 was Tyreek Hill, who again put up 215 yards against the LA Chargers in week 1. But let's talk about this Eagles offense here for a second, just because you brought it up. Little bit different with these two guys, where one with Dallas Goedert, he puts up 0 points. Stuff happens. Okay. Mm-hmm. That seems like an outlier. I wouldn't bank on Goddard having, it's just tough when you eat the 0 in week 1. You're going to as a fantasy player, you're going to freak out about it. Okay. Cause it's 0 points. Obviously Drake London, another guy that was on JJ's team, had 0 points. That's tough to eat, but with Goddard, he's an established guy. He'll be fine. The Swift thing though, look, this is one of those running back committees that coming into the year we had questions about. And what do they look like? What are the Eagles? The Eagles, how are they going to use these guys? They say goodbye to Miles Sanders, who was awesome for them last year. They bring in Rashad Penny and they bring in DeAndre Swift to join the room with Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott. Rashad Penny is a healthy scratch. Doesn't even play in week 1. DeAndre Swift did play in week 1. Hard to notice it because, again, the 3 touches or whatever. Yeah, Swift plays on 16 snaps. He gets 1 rush attempt, and he gets 2 targets. So not a lot going on there for DeAndre Swift. Meanwhile, the holdover, Kenny Gainwell, 14. He carried the ball 14 times. So, I mean, very impressive. He was involved in the passing game, 4 targets for 29 yards. So, I don't know. He's looking like a guy that's a big winner coming out of week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, out of that roster, that lineup, like you said, it was a committee, and it seems like the coaches put it on him for this game. Like, hey, Gainwell, like, you're a guy. Like, here's your opportunity. And so I'm not giving up on my guy yet.
No,
it's way too early. Way too early. I'm not overreacting. We'll see how it kind of plays out. But I'm still leaning on DeAndre to pull through. Maybe move him down to the bench a little bit because I got Juju that I can put in that flex spot. And he didn't have the biggest game, but still is getting some I would say more guaranteed reps. So some things I can move around. Like Juju had 7 targets. He caught 4 times for 33 yards. Whereas it's something, but then easily, you could get one of these situations where all of a sudden Swift's in the goal line and now runs it in for a touchdown. And then it's like, dang, why didn't I start it? So it's like these bubble players is like, okay, well, who's the matchup? Who are they playing? That plays a part into it. And then just kind of the situation, like what's the injury report looking like, coming out of the game, is there any talks about anything? So things I'll be looking at for this Eagles defense or Eagles offense.
Yeah, we're going to keep our eye on DeAndre Swift because, again, he's new to the team. Kenny Gainwell's the holdover there. Sometimes you see that. And look, I will say Gainwell at this point, he should be rostered in all leagues. He's a potential flex or low-end running back too, because one thing that has been consistently said outside of Eagles camp, both from the coaching staff and beat reporters, they trust this guy. And we talk about all the time how trust is so important, especially at that running back position. If you're going to pass protect, anything like that, be an outlet receiver. So he's definitely a guy I got my eye on. Let's talk about my team here real quick. Because different strategies.
Hey, we are both 1-0. Maybe that's a question we should ask. Who do you think is going to lose their winning streak first?
Well, you play Josh Norris from Underdog Fantasy in week 2.
I do.
He's looking to avoid an 0-2 start. So tough scene there. He's got your teammate Keenan Allen in his lineup. I'm actually taking on JJ, who you just destroyed last week. JJ, unfortunately, his team is in a little bit of trouble right now, right?
What was his draft score? Because it couldn't have been above a C-, because C- is like the worst you can get, right? Right.
I'll pull it up here real quick. Okay, yeah. Okay, it just shows me mine. I know what mine was. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, you can get D's and F's? Oh, I didn't know you can get D's and F's.
He got a D.
Wow. He got a D? Yeah.
He got a D. Lindsey Rhodes, who I beat in week 1, got a D-. So hey, maybe the draft grades are vindicated here.
Okay. But who are we playing this week? So you're playing a D draft grade. What was who am I playing this week? What is that draft?
You're playing
grade?
Josh, a D+. Yo, draft grades are vindicated.
We'll see if
Our
those
draft
play
grades
through.
back. Our draft grades back. That's the question.
Right.
But again, yeah. So for me in week 1, just to follow up on the defense stuff, this is something we talked about last week where you drafted a defense high, like Dallas Cowboys. You're going to be playing them guys every single week. And, not to be disrespectful to Zach Wilson, but he is the guy who's going to be going, the backup quarterback for the Jets. He'll be going against the Cowboys in week 2. Good luck, buddy. That's all I'll say about that.
Freaking Cowboys, man. I think we got him in week 6. Got to have a plan.
Yeah. Well, that'll be fresh
be a
off
battle.
your bye week, though. At least there's that. You'll be nice and rested before you face those guys. Point is here. I picked up the Green Bay defense before kickoff, right? I mentioned that was going to be my strategy, was streaming these defenses. They got 15 points, 1 touchdown, 4 sacks, and an interception. So reminder, there's 2 ways to skin the cat here, right? You can draft a defense like the Dallas Cowboys who are going to, be really good. Or you can kind of play the waiver wire and all right, again, Justin Fields is a guy who takes a lot of sacks. They turn the ball over in Chicago. Maybe we look at a defense like that. And so that worked out for me in week 1.
I like it because I think then it opens up a spot for you, right? Whereas you can get another skill player, you can get another, quarterback, you can get everything else and then kind of just play it week to week. You didn't draft any defense, right? You had no defense on your roster?
No defense on my roster. Yeah. So it was just an empty spot, carried like an upside player. So I don't know, maybe some defensive matchups that you might want to think about in week number 2 here. The Bears are going against the Bucks. They got to go on the road to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay had a pretty decent performance against Kirk Cousins in week 1, so that's someone you could think about. Hey, your Chargers, not a great defensive performance in week 1, but you go against Tennessee Titans in week 2. Ryan Tannehill, rough performance in week 1, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, not a lot of completions. And dude, if Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack want to bounce back in week 2, they can watch that Tennessee Titans offensive line because that'll give them some pretty good opportunities there. So maybe those, if you are streaming defenses, those are a couple ones to consider here.
Yes, absolutely. I love that strat. I don't think I have enough time to commit to that. So if you're in there in the weeds, definitely something that you could play on.
Apparently I have all the time in the world here.
Hey man, you are the expert here, right? We lean on Matt. I talk to, people about my fantasy show, like, oh yeah, I got a fantasy show. Like, yeah, we know Matt, like Matt's a legend. Like, so you definitely have been putting in the work and have been getting respect out there. So shout out to Matt, man. Shout out to Matt for putting in the work for us all.
You know what? It's better than having a real job. If the NFL for whatever reason went away, I don't know what I would do. I mean, I'd have to go do like manual labor or something, like go work in the mines, here.
There you go. Hey, you would find something to do, man. But hey, look, we're glad that you have fantasy football because, you do a good job with what you got. So appreciate you, man.
Well, hey, I appreciate you. You're pretty good at this whole fantasy football thing too. You win in week 1 and also on the field, pal. So we hope you're out there in week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, all the weeks, man. Of course. So let's move into another segment here, our mailbag segment. People sent in some great submissions to the Ask Austin at yahoosports.com mailbag. We asked you all for your best Sunday setup because I want to give a shout out here to YouTube TV. They crushed it in week 1. The multiple screens, the options with being able to have the Sunday ticket set up. I've never had Sunday ticket before, any sort of thing like that. But, I've got my 3 screens here. I've got the main TV, which was the 4 games. I got the one TV, which is Red Zone, and then one game I want to highlight here on the individual screen. So it was awesome. Shout out to YouTube TV. And the people sent in a lot of shots of their, multi-screen setup, starting with at People's Choice 31. sent in their great setup where they had 3 TVs and an all black little couch type setup here.
Okay, yeah, this is intense. What you're missing the green glow behind the TV. Like, kind of has like this aura of like, this is the one, like there's some small TVs on the side. I like it. They got the whole setup. I got like, what is that? They got, looks like the old PlayStation, like the first PlayStation down there in the bottom right. Okay. This is like a true gaming setup here.
Yeah, I mean it's great for football. Obviously, they're a big Eagles fan. They got a bunch of Eagles stuff
the green
here as
light,
well.
The Eagle. Yeah, I see it. Nice.
Look like
okay.
It's a good setup. That's a good setup. I'll give that one a solid B. If we're grading setups here, I'll give that one
you give it
solid
a B.
B.
Wow, a B.
Oh, well, only because look at the next one here. This one comes in from at Dana Kittow 86. And this one's this got 6 screens. This literally looks like I mean, Austin, as a good NFL player, you've never been in a sports book, so there is that. You've never set foot inside a sports book in your life. I have, not when I was working for NFL Network, because that would be very, very much against the rules. But since then, and maybe before then, I've been in a sports book before, and it looks a lot like this, right? With like
this
all
looks like
of the
copy
TVs.
and paste of TVs. Like, you just have a bunch of like that. That's almost like sensory overload. Like, what are you watching? Okay. Yeah, I like it. I like the TV collab.
Yeah, I'll give this one a B plus, not a full A.
Wow.
Only because, like you said, all of these screens are so close to each other. In my personal opinion, like how I've got it up here, I need a little bit of separation between these TVs, because otherwise, my brain is going to melt out of my ears with like trying to take in all that information at once.
I think the other one's better, actually. I would rank it above. I like the big focal point. Yeah. And then the TV's on the side, So if like something crazy happens and you have like the multiple screens on the side, but then you have like your game that you're excited to watch in the middle, it's kind of like a bang. And they did it well with the green lights around it. So, I'm gonna have to disagree. And it's a curved TV. Can we get a curved TV with the green light? Like, nice. My man. But anyway, all right. What else we got in here?
All right, I'll take that criticism there. Next one up here comes in from at mluco3. This has got the good separation between the TVs. They've got one big TV and a side TV. They've got the YouTube setup where you can watch multiple games, like the simulcast or whatever. So you could have maybe the red zone on one TV, and you can have the multiple games set up on the other. This one, I'm gonna go ahead and give this one an A minus. It's simple, it's classic, but again, the ability to have one smaller TV and one bigger one, it's going to prevent you from that sensory overload.
Yeah, this one also gets kudos from me because they actually took the time to at least, tidy up the place where they took the picture. When the other 2 pictures, there's a little bit of clutter. So y'all with the clutter, it's Sunday. Let's clean up the house a little bit. Let's get ready to watch some football. But come on. So this one gets kudos for being neat.
And our last one here comes in from at Joel D. Van 68. My living room, they said, my living room, red zone on the big TV, the 2 available early starts on the one above. Look, this one, this I like because it's not flashy, okay? The other ones, they had some big ass TVs. These ones are a little smaller. Look, not everybody's got it like that, right? Where you've guys got the 3 big TVs. I mean, the one a couple of submissions ago, their TV budget must be a little extreme. So you look, it's not the most flashy, but this is effective. Okay, I think maybe you can move a little closer to the screens. I don't know about you, Austin. My vision sucks. So, but hey, you got the laptop too. Fantasy teams up on the laptop.
Is it that your vision sucks, or is it that you want to get that into it? Like, you ever play like video games and like you can't sit way back? Like, you got to be like right up in there, you're in here, like you're getting the details, like you see it. And so when I watch TV, like I'm on a PC all the time too now. So it's like right in front of my face. And so that's kind of how I like watch TV and stuff too now. Maybe it's not a good thing, but yeah.
It's definitely not a good thing.
Well, hey, I'll worry about that later. But yeah, no, I like it. They got the 3 TV set up. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's commitment. If you got more than one TV that you're watching for football, then it's like, yeah, you are a fan. You are a true fan. And thank you also for being neat and tidy. Maybe that should be the next, mailbag. How neat is your house right now? Take a picture. We want to see it because we're going to rate it.
I'm kind of done seeing people's houses. I shared mine too, so people can find that, like my setup. I posted on Twitter when I asked for the questions and all that. So, it's important to keep the things straightened up. All right, that's nice. I will say this last note on the whole thing. I actually stand up, Austin. That's my thing. When I and even if it's not a game that like I'm invested in, like last night, we're taping this on Tuesday. Last night, watching Monday Night Football, at the end of it in overtime, I couldn't care less about like the Bills or Jets. Neither one of them are my team or whatever. But I get like I got to stand up. I can't sit down. Like I got to stand up and kind of pace around a little bit. So the big moments for me, it's not like getting close to the screen. It's getting a little like, I get antsy. Okay, so I can't sit down.
Yeah. So look, I mean, you are like, that's why makes you a legend, man. Like that's why Matt is different. It doesn't matter who's on the dang screen. He's just invested, like you are into it. Like it doesn't matter. You are just watching these players. You're locked in. Like you're just, you have a feeling that just pulling you out, that you can't sit down. You can't stand to not be on your feet because if something crazy happens, you need to be ready. Like, were you going crazy after like the punt return for the game winner?
I'm not like a super emotional watcher of football, but just more like, oh my, it's one of those things that's like, oh my God, because it's not, sometimes I can't even get, I'm a weird person. Like I get dialed in and excited for the winning team, but almost I'm like, Bills, bro. I mean, what? How can you allow this to happen? I mean, the entire thing, we love Josh Allen. We've had him on the show. Big Josh Allen fan. But, you can't be throwing 3 interceptions in that moment. Just have a normal game. This team is devastated by this big injury. Have a normal game and get the hell out of there and move on to week 2. But then from the punt return perspective, like, how can this end like this? How can this end like this? Also, I'm a professional, man. I had to run up here to the command center, which is what I'm calling my office now. I had to run up here to the command center and tape a reaction for that. Like I had to put myself, poor freaking Colin is talking to me at like midnight, so like, hey buddy, we got to get this on the pod. We're working, man, all hours of the day. So yeah, I gotta try to keep my composure, but I do have to stand up or otherwise I'm gonna get too antsy.
Yeah. And look, this is why we love, Colin said Yahoo Fantasy After Dark. I like it. That's the next show. You guys got your own show after the After Dark show. But anyway, it's the NFL. It's the NFL, man. Like this is why we love it. This is why it's so popular. This is why it continues to grow year after year, man. Because it's crazy stuff happens. Now, you don't even have to be watching your team, but Monday night games on. People are watching that, at the bar. People are watching at restaurants. People are watching it at home. Like, and then you have crazy stuff like that happen, and people come back. People keep coming back. Like, what's going to happen next? So, good stuff.
People are at baby showers watching it on the phone, like, hope nobody notices me, that type of thing. People love football. All right. So for next week's Ask Austin Mailbag, we're looking for your week 1 trades that we can grade. Send us any major moves that you've made this week, and Austin and I will grade them with week 2 and hindsight on next week's pod. So, hey, if you make a trade because you're freaking out about your team in week 1 and week 2, actually, you traded away DeAndre Swift and he scored 2 touchdowns in week 2. We'll be able to not laugh at you, but maybe learn a lesson coming out of that. We're also happy to look at any suggested trades you're thinking about and grade those as well. That's what we're here for, a little trade action. So again, the Ask Austin mailbag is askaustin@yahoosports.com, or you can share those with us on Twitter, X, whatever we're supposed to call it, at our accounts, at Austin Ekeler or at Matt Harmon _BYB. So again, week 1 trades. Send us those ones that you make heading here into week 2. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to wrap this show up with some week 2 bold predictions. All right, Austin, since we are teaming up this season with the first ever Toyota Grand Highlander, the perfect vehicle for making new memories, we're going to create some memories of our own in this segment we're calling Future Snapshots. Make me a bold prediction, Austin. Who is going to have a memorable performance this weekend?
I think memorable performance. I'm looking at this Bills and Raiders game.
Oh.
And you might think I'm going with something on the Bills, but I'm actually getting a bounce back game from my guy who was getting stuffed all day, Josh Jacobs, who's going to go for over 75 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns.
All right. No, listen, I like 2 touchdowns. I'll tell you what, man, the Jets, not a lot of good things to say about what happened to the Jets on Monday night. Again, despite the fact that they won because, they lost Aaron Rodgers. But one of the highlights was Breece Hall back for the Jets, ripping off huge runs. I think he probably houses that one run if he's 100% healthy. So that was obviously against the Bills. So that makes your bold prediction make a little bit of sense there. I will go with a bold prediction here. Lamar Jackson throws 3 touchdowns and runs in a touchdown in week 2.
Wow.
In Cincinnati.
Double exclamation point bold. He's going to have 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns. The 3 passing touchdowns here. He didn't throw any touchdowns in week 1, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. People are like concerned about Lamar. Now it's like, you see, you knuckleheads in the media, you overhype Lamar again because he's same old. New offensive coordinator. He's still a running back playing. I'm still getting tweets about how he's a running back playing quarterback. It's like, you idiots, go outside. Like, give me a freaking break. How disrespectful to somebody who's more athletic than you could ever be in your dreams. But anyways,
okay, it's getting personal here.
Yeah, let's get personal. Lamar Jackson. I think this passing offense is going to come together. They had a great performance in week 1 from Zay Flowers, their rookie receiver. That guy had 60% of the first read targets last week. I mean, unbelievable, like insane stuff. He was unbelievable in week 1. Yeah, crazy for his debut. I think wheels up for Zay Flowers. I think Lamar will go along with it this time. Odell Beckham had a big catch, drew a bunch of pass interferences. I think it was kind of fluky not throwing touchdowns in week 1. So I think he gets a big performance here in week 2.
I can respect that.
And honestly, he just didn't throw any of those touchdowns because he was on Lindsey Rhodes' team in week 1 and she was facing me in fantasy. So Lamar is doing me a solid.
Yeah, and you got into his DMs, didn't you? And you're like, hey, I need you to, wait till next week to start popping off, Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've got that kind of relationship with Lamar. And I mean, just if that's what as we learn on this show, that is what players definitely love, is when you can get in the DMs and tell them what you need to have happen.
Yes.
All right. There we go. See, we're making memories here every day on Ekeler's Edge. Those are our future snapshots. Thanks again to Toyota and the first ever Grand Highlander. All right, Austin, that's going to do it, man. Packed show here. Ton of actionable fantasy takeaways for people to hear on this show. I'm excited to grade some trades next week as well.
Yes, as am I. I'm actually looking to I've never traded in fantasy football. Never. So I get my eyes on maybe some few options, depending on how, some things kind of play out here in my team in this next week. But I'm also looking forward to holding on to the winning streak between Matt and I's team too. So, I'm going to hold up my A- draft grade. But no, absolutely looking forward to week 2, and it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Hopefully you're able to get past this ankle thing so you can play for my fantasy team, bro. I mean, hey, Austin, I need you, okay?
I know. I need Austin.
Yeah.
And
Austin,
so do all the fantasy teams. So do the Chargers. I know. I'll do my best. best.
I'm just giving you crap, man. Of course, we wish you well, man. Good luck out there. We're excited to talk in week 3. After heading into week 3 to all of you. And again, we want to grade those trades, man. So make sure you send those into the email. Make sure you tweet them to me or Austin. I am very excited for that. Tomorrow on the show, it's Thursday. You know what that means. Dalton Del Don is back for another Stat Nerd Thursday, where we give you one stat you need to know. I mean, you need to know these stats to help you inform your decision-making heading into week 2. Until then, we're out.